that sweet riff, and it's time for Bleav in Chargers, and we got big smiles on our face because it's coming off a win, much needed win. You never want to say must win in week 6 for a team that's atop the AFC West with the great Lorenzo Neal, should be and likely future Hall of Famer Matt Money Smith here. We appreciate all of you checking in. Please leave a comment, rate, share, all of that as we continue to grow this thing for a team that right now is in the playoff picture low with those tiebreakers over each and every team. The Chiefs are coming on. They've looked a lot better. The Broncos, of course, tied with the Chargers with that 4-2 record, but by way of head-to-head win, they're atop, and it was a must-needed. It was a much-needed, and it almost felt like a must-win down in Miami, and they got out of there 29-27.
Yeah, they did. That was a great win. It was a nail-biter. I just wanted them to keep winning. So if they keep winning, maybe we can get your girl Preston to come on and give us one of them really rips live and have her get down and get this Charger team going. Get her to give a Charger song, get something going, because they need it. It's been these last couple of weeks, man. It's been nail biters, and I know me and you, we sit here week in and week out. They've been. It's not a game that they hasn't been in. Even when they lost, they're still in every single game. It's never been a game just got away from them. And last week was no exception. You saw him struggle, continue to try to struggle to keep Herbert protected. That game, Money, was a must win, but the way in which they won, McConkey, the quick 5-yard out and stopped on the dime, left 10 cents change and just accelerated. It was absolutely amazing. But I'm going to tell you, watching that play, I know we'll get into next week, but just talking about recapping this, man, was that the closest play you saw to Big Ben in how long?
Yeah.
Remember Big Ben, the shrug off, and watching Herbert just stay there and how strong he's able to shuck defenders and say, guess what? I am going to will this game. I don't care who doesn't block. Someone's going to be at my foot. Someone's trying to tackle me. I'm going to shake a 250-pound, 260, shake him off me. I'm going to throw him to the ground. I'm going to keep my eyes downfield, able to throw a ball, and off to the races. That play, I was like, wow, that reminds me. That was that Big Ben-esque kind of play. Superman in the booth. He went in the booth, put on a Superman outfit, and said, I'm going to will this game to happen, that we need this win.
Yeah, and it was back-to-back plays. It was, remember, on the play right before that, he should have been sacked and was able to hold up long enough to throw that pass at the feet of McConkey incomplete, so they didn't have to use their only timeout. And, you get sacked, and now you're staring at a 2nd and 20. Right. So the fact that it was back-to-back plays where he had to overcome immediate pressure, that was an issue. I thought Greg Roman did a great job in that game of helping out his tackles, his 5th and 6th. Understand that is what they're on right now. Slater, Alt, 1-2, Pipkins, Sawyer, 3-4. Now they are on 5-6. Deculus and Bobby Hart is what we're talking about for tackles. So kudos to not just Greg Roman for helping out, but to those players. It wasn't just Will Dissly and Tucker Fisk. It was Aronde Gadsden. It was Trey Harris. It was Kamani Vidal that helped with the pass protection plan to put 29 points up on the board. And again, I think, to your point, it certainly was a Herbert game, and he's had a lot of these plays already this season, starting with week 1 in the scramble to ice it on a 3rd and 18, followed by the Bronco game and the heroics in the second half, followed by the, obviously this one, like you said, shaking off, first of all, stepping in front of Chop Robinson and then shaking off Jalen Phillips. It was impressive. It was really impressive. And I think it's not sustainable. I think that's certain. That's for certain. It is not sustainable. And, you look at the spread this week, and big thank you to our friends at FanDuel for helping us keep this thing rolling and bringing it to you. And they've got the Colts, getting 1.5. And, road teams typically get 3. This thing is at Chargers laying 1.5. The over-under, understandably, 48.5. The Colts are the highest scoring team in the league right now. They're 5-1, and you can make a case for 6-0 if A.D. Mitchell doesn't, have that boneheaded play against the Rams and drop that ball before he gets into the end zone. It's a touchdown instead of a turnover, and they end up winning that game. So it's a very good Colts team coached by someone we know really well and have a ton of respect for in Shane Steichen. So they're going to need those points again. They're going to need that type of heroics again from Herbert.
No question. Is this a team, in your opinion, Money, that you look and say, can Matt Jones Could this guy possibly be Daniel Jones? Could this guy possibly plan for the MVP? Even though you look at the way that they're scoring, yes, he has a tremendous running game. But if you look at where he's come from, the Giants, and look at Daniel Jones, the way that he's playing through several games over 300 yards, why isn't more people talking about the Colts? Why, in your opinion, why, like you just alluded to, the guy
Yeah.
does, he goes in the end zone and doesn't showboat and gets across the line, they win that game and they're undefeated. Why is the media and the narrative talking about this Colts team with the runner that they have in the backfield, the quarterback that they have, and the way that they're able to win games? Why aren't more people talking about this Colts team?
Yeah, I think I mean, I went back and watched their last 2 games. So I watched I didn't watch all of the Raider game because it was such a blowout, but I watched all of the Arizona game. There's turnover worthy plays in there. He threw a bad pick that they got lucky on and caught a break that wasn't cashed in for a touchdown. Had a second ball that should have been picked off that was dropped by and look, that happens to a lot of quarterbacks. But I think I think there's probably still, it's just like college football, right? What's the preseason poll? And it's hard for a team that's not sitting in that top 10 to ever make it all the way to number 1. And I think when you've got a Colts team that's talking about Daniel Jones beating out Anthony Richardson, and is Shane Steichen on the hot seat, and is Chris Ballard going to get fired, and how have they wasted all of his talent? That takes a minute, and then you go through their schedule and it's like, okay, Miami, Tennessee, Raiders. Arizona probably should have won that game. I think you can make a case. They're up 24-17.
Could have been holding at the end zone. Arizona had a chance to win that game. I thought it was a bad no call. True, I get it.
So I think that's part of it, is people just aren't quite there yet. But you look at this next stretch they have, Chargers, Steelers, Falcons, Chiefs. Like, if they get through this and Jones is still, Daniel Jones is still operating at that sort of level with some wins, then I think you'll see him creep in. But to me, it's just there aren't necessary. It's a lot of it is. I'll tell you, man, they're a tough team. They're going to be a tough team to slow down. A lot of it is Shane Steichen scheming it up, man. Guys are wide open. Downs is wide open. Tyler Warren, man, the fact that guy wasn't a top 10 pick, it's like, didn't you learn your lesson from Brock Bowers 2 years ago? You're letting this guy slide all the way to 14. Not to mention, you got a tight end coming off the board ahead of him in Colston Loveland. Like, it's just, he's a problem. Tyler Warren is a big freaking problem. They ran a couple really cool plays to him, and that Arizona game was just, trying to think, it almost looked like, I think it was a bunch formation. He was the outside receiver, and it looked like he was going to run kind of a dig, and the next thing you know, he's running a reverse on a shovel pass, and it just goes for 20, 30 yards. He's staying into block, releases, immediately ball in his hands, gone. Like, there's so many different ways they're using him in the backfield as a runner. So I think because of that, and because, sorry, Lo, it's a long answer here, but I also think Jonathan Taylor's probably your offensive player of the year right now. So I think when you combine all of those things together, you got a really good running game. It's kind of like,
right.
I think it's like, oh, wow, Steichen's really scheming it up. How great is this rookie, Tyler Warren, and Jonathan Taylor? I mean, what's he at? He is currently at 603 yards and 7 touchdowns. So,
wow.
I think it's kind of all of those things combined leads to, is it really Daniel Jones, or is Daniel Moore again? He's not the truck, he's the trailer.
Right.
It's just kind of that's the kind of quarterback he is.
And when you look at a guy, you talk about JT, Jonathan Taylor, the way that he's running the ball in between tackles, a big home run hitter. He's even, he's leaving. He's a guy he's a playmaker. He's a chain mover as well as a game changer. You look at the Chargers last week against Miami, you saw them in the run game again, give up some gashes, some big plays in the run game. Can they get this solved? Because JT, this is going to be the best back that they faced thus far, in my opinion, Jonathan Taylor. So how do they get this thing solved, and how do they get this thing fixed?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Lo, it's not something that I thought I would ever say after what we saw last year. I'm pulling up the numbers now, so I want to make sure I get it right. But there is and I don't know, I've got to believe in the case of Derwin that he's not right. I think there's something going on there that they're not telling us. But there's so many missed tackles out there. It's crazy this year. Last year there was nothing. They were a sound tackling team, but
he took a bad angle on that touchdown, that long run. Durbin did take a bad angle, and
Well, that long one was on that. I think the blood was on R.J. Mickens' hands, the rookie, and he's just getting out there for the first time. But yes, he broke the tackle from Derwin at the start, and then Mickens just coming way too downhill.
Yeah,
and like you said, if you're even, you're leaving, and that was the case on that 53-yard or whatever that was. But yeah, I mean, look at this. I got Troy Dye 23% missed tackle rate. Derwin's at 18%. Like that's crazy for Derwin. Derwin's never at that point. And so Tarheeb at 19%, Thule at 41%. Like that's sort of, to me, the issue with the run defense. I think getting Owe in here, and he's more of a pass rusher than an edge setter, but I thought he set the edge pretty well in his limited snaps out there, and obviously rushed the passer exceptionally with that sack and a couple other pressures. But to me, that's been sort of the weird thing this year, is just the missed tackle rate. And we talked about this last week. I want a heavy box. I want a heavy line, man. I want those 3 tackles. We mentioned last week, like, I don't want to see the dime defense out there anymore. I think they're better with those 3, especially when Deshaun Hand was healthy. When it was Hand, Tart, and Caldwell, I loved that 3 with your 2 edges, Khalil and Thule. And now I think with Owe and Thule, I want to see Naquan, Tier and Caldwell out there. I think that's their best or a Boygby. However you're going to rotate it, I just want to see that heavy front, man. I think they're better against the run in that front than they are with these light boxes, with the way the linebackers have been just kind of sinking. And
they're waiting. I'm watching. They're not attacking. Like you called it last couple of weeks. They're not attacking. And when you think about this team and you think about what Khalil Mack brings to it, not that he's on the field every single play, but just the leadership when he walks in the huddle, the bravado, when he can talk to guys and just what you have on the sideline. Compare and contrast, bigger loss, Niners losing All-Pro Freddie Warner, Khalil Mack. How much are those guys similar to talking about the mental aspect of the game for players?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you work with the 49ers up there, Lo, so it. I mean, how important that kind of, to borrow a phrase from my friend Dave Damashek, the Jenga piece, right? Who's the Jenga piece you pull out and the whole thing comes toppling down? I think as good as Nick Bosa is on that edge for the 49ers, it's Fred Warner. I mean, no question, right? For the Chargers, I think it's Derwin, and that's why I just think that Derwin's not right. I kept watching him holding that wrist out there. He kind of kept looking at his hand, and then our sideline reporter Shannon had mentioned right at the start of the game. It was great job by her. She's like, yeah, Derwin was just down here, kind of, she goes, I would call it kind of pep talk, and kind of at the same time a stern talking to Mekhi Becton about his finger, and kind of saying like, hey man, we need you this whole game. I need you out there this whole game. And he was kind of dealing with his hand, and while he was talking to Mekhi. So I wonder if there's something. He's like, hey, I got to use my hand to tackle. I'm going to be out there every snap. I expect you to be out there every snap after what we saw, the last couple games with him not being able to play an entire game and going to the tent and coming off. And there's just been a lot of that with Mekhi. And sure enough, Mekhi played every snap. And it was needed because the O-line is a lot better with Mekhi Becton out there.
Question.
But I almost wonder, is there something going on? And is that why there's so many missed tackles with him, that maybe he's tackling with one hand out there, that there could be a broken bone or there could be something strained in there? But it just seemed like he was holding that an awful lot, because a 20% missed tackle rate. And you know what? I got that wrong. That was against the pass that I was given those numbers. So I don't want to put that on Troy Dye. He's at 15%. I was going to say 23. You're not even playing. But Thule is still at 33%. That's great. Tarheeb is still at 21%. Derwin 20%. Troy Dye 15%. It's just too high. Caleb Murphy 15. Dante 15. Marlo. Those are special teams guys. But like, those numbers have to come down. That's way, way, way too high. And I would imagine I'm at, let me see if I can get into defensive stats here, and whether or not they have that per team. I don't think they do. Yeah, I don't, but I would imagine that's got to be one of the lower numbers in the game in the NFL. I think I should say one of the higher numbers. I would say it's probably one of the worst missed tackle rates in the NFL, and they got to clean it up.
They have to clean it up, and they got to clean it up like yesterday. Because when I'm
Yeah.
watching, like you talked about the edges, when you can constrict the edges and you say, let's make them play in a phone booth, when you give up 2 and 3 yards, it's a game of inches. We already know how football. Look how close field goals and misses, and just a miss. I'm 1 inch, 3 feet away from a tackle because I took a bad angle. When you're talking about 3 feet that you just let, that you get pushed 3 feet along the line, that's gap. Now that linebacker can't come plug the hole. They got to do a better job on the grubs, or the guy on the 3 technique, that he holds the center and the guard and don't let them ace up and tray up to the backers. You saw it too many times last week against Miami that the guard is getting to the second level. He's coming right off. He's able just to push, throw a hand on the down blocker, throw a hand on the 3 technique or the 4 technique, just boom, throw a force hand, and then go up to the linebacker. And now you got a gash because the edge isn't contracting. The 3 technique's not holding the ground. The linebacker can't hit the space. So now he's playing the hump, and you give the back a two-way go. This has to be cleaned up. I'm seeing it in a natural eye. I know these players, I know these coaches are trying to coach it up. But like you said, they got to do a better job in those trenches of doing a better job of saying, create the line of scrimmage. I'm going to hit and I'm going to read, but I'm not going to give up ground on the line of scrimmage. You got to hit and react and push, set them back. So now they have to try to move you. You have to create a new line of scrimmage, and they're not playing on the opposite side of the ball. Now guys can't play downhill. That's why you don't see the linebackers penetrating. He said, man, that's a great play. Great anticipation. He went and made the tackle in the backfield. Why does that happen? That's usually because those guys up front, they're able to hold those guys and not let them scoop block and trade block up to the next level.
Man, Lowe starts talking about the trenches, and that volume
because that's where it's won and lost that money. That's where it's
the volume. The volume goes up a couple decibels, man, when Lowe gets into the trenches. You're right. Look, it's one of the when we were talking about the patches on the practice jerseys and the block of granite, right? What was the first thing? One of the first things that Coach said about Derwin James was block destruction. Block destruction. That's one of the pillars of the block of granite on defense, and I think that's what I'm talking about with that heavy front, right?
Sure.
How to get better block destruction from that front. And Khalil's exceptional at it, and Thule is great at it. And Deshaun Hand was really kind of their best player at that, and he's going to be out for at least the next 3 games because he's on IR. So I think that's where you've got to start playing around. Jesse Minter's got to start playing around with this interior and figure out. I know he likes to play with a light box. I know he wants to play with 3 safeties. They play more dime than anybody else. But at the same time, I think when you're getting gashed by the run and you got probably the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year, and you let Jonathan Taylor break a tackle, that 4.3 speed's kicking and he's gone. And so to me, I'd be willing to take the risk of, getting beat on the back end through the air than having that light box that we've seen, every single week, as we just go, whether it's Kroski, Merritt, or what last week, Achane, Kroski, Merritt, J.K. Dobbins. It's just been a little bit too much. Cam Scattaboo, it's been a little bit too much of those sort of explosive plays and rushing first downs defensively that and Denzel Perriman should be. I thought Denzel was going to be back for the Miami game. I think ultimately what I think happened was when Sawyer was a late scratch, they were like, we could probably go another week and let Denzel he's fine, healing up one more week. We got to elevate another old lineman just in case. We got these, Bobby Hart, who's making his first start in 3 years. We probably got, so they put Sharp up. And I think that was just kind of what happened with DP. But I think you get him out there and that's going to get cleaned up because that's what he does. He's a thumper. He's a guy that's going to, he's so good at finding his fits and making sure they're right. And so I think that'll help. And then hopefully Khalil is back sooner than later, and that's going to help out a lot. But for me, so much of it is just, deleting those missed tackles. Just keep it clean, make your tackles. And when you delete those, it reminds us of delete me, because data brokers are making a profit off your data. Your data is a commodity, and anyone on the web can buy your private details. That can lead to identity theft, to phishing attempts, to harassment. But you can protect yourself and your privacy with what we are helping you find, and that is Delete Me. New York Times Wirecutter named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. I've said it before. I had my identity stolen. It was in the middle of buying a house. It cost me a 1/4 point on my mortgage because my credit score went down. Multiple credit cards, a tire store, all that stuff. It sucked. And I would hate for those of you to get in on that and have to feel what that pain is like. So get 20% off your Delete Me plan. I want you to take control. We want you to take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. It's a special discount for you, the Bleav in Charger listeners. 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to Delete Me. Actually, check that. Join deleteme.com/pro. That is joindeleteme.com/pro. Use the promo code PRO at checkout. That's how you get the 20% off. Joindeleteme.com/pro. Enter code PRO at checkout. So, yeah, defensively low. Sorry, as I kind of finished that thought. It's get some reinforcements back. I like that heavier front. And
I think they're going to go back to the heavier front because here's what I understand you want to go light in the box if you say, hey, I want to put some pressure on the quarterback and make him get off his spot. But when you have a team now, when you keep them two-dimensional, you got to shut down one. You got to pick your poison. You're better in the secondary. You got to say, look, we got to shut down the run. And we can't. So if we can't stop the run, we're in trouble because now teams can get in 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, 2nd and 3, and now they can throw our pass. And now we're in a damned if we do, damned if we don't. If you go back to the heavy front and you say, look, let's hold these teams to 2 to 3 yards rushing on this, and now you're in a situation where, hey, look, our box is heavy. Now we make them more one-dimensional. They have to throw. Now we can, do what we need to do. So I think you've got to go more with the heavier box because if you don't, now teams can run and pass on you, and you're not really being great at anything. And that's what you saw the last couple of weeks. Teams have been able to run and they've been able to throw the ball. So when you're able to do both and you don't shut down one or the other, that usually turns into a long day.
Yeah, that's the other thing that we hadn't seen a lot last year, right? Is just those miscommunication moments, guys handing off, runners to nobody. And you saw on that touchdown, even before the snap, DJ said on the broadcast, like, hey, man, one guy you can't lose right now is Darren Waller. And it was a 2-man route, and they lost Darren Waller. You got 4 guys guarding grass and no one in the back of the end zone where Darren Waller stood wide open. The guy that had 3 red zone targets and 3 touchdowns on 3 red zone targets. And he's unaccounted for because either Molden was supposed to, take the pass off and not go with the crosser, or Derwin was supposed to travel with him. And everybody's eyes are just locked in on the quarterback. And I'm just not used to seeing it with this team. And look, they'll go back through the film and they'll clean it up. Yeah, but communication was a serious issue on that play. And again, with the way that the Colts use their 2 tight ends, Mo Alley-Cox and Tyler Warren, with Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield, with Downs and how slippery he is. You got Pierce. Like, there's a lot. They just, after A.D. Mitchell, had that issue against the Rams, he's a 2nd-round pick, man. He was one of the first receivers taken, or one of the highest receivers taken, I shouldn't say first receivers. He was taken right after Ladd was last year, and he was inactive last week. That's how many weapons they have out there. You got Pittman, you've got they are freaking stacked. So that communication stuff, because Shane, man, he can dial it up. He's going to run a lot of pre-snap motion. He's got a lot of dudes that you think are staying in that are leaking out. He's really good at drawing up offense, and this offensive line is really good. Bernard Raymond, who started out as wow, this is a hell of a gamble, guy who barely played tackle. I think he's from Austria or German. I can't remember if he's German, or I think he's German. He's one of the best tackles in the league. Quentin Nelson's still the best guard in the league. Their center that I know the Chargers were looking at, Taylor Bortolini 2 years ago, has become one of the best centers in the league. So there's going to be time. They're good at blocking it up. Daniel Jones is going to have some time out there. And that means communication is going to have to be on point if you're going to get this win at home.
Oh, without a doubt. You look at Indianapolis, like you just alluded to, they have one of the better offensive linemen. They're solid in the run game and the pass game. They're good run blockers. They like to mold people off the line of scrimmage. They play snap the whistle. They understand who they have in JT, the runner that they have, and they know he's a big play back. How many times you see guys blocking downfield? They're going to come hit the pal, move the pal. John Taylor's going to keep his legs turning. So this is tall cotton for the Chargers. I like what the Chargers did. We didn't talk enough about Verdell, how able he was running the ball, got to the perimeter last week. The toss, you saw the running game, the merge of the run game. They were very consistent. You thought the run game was going to be really existent. Thought Herbert would have to throw the ball 60, 70 times a game. But when you watch the way that they were able to move the ball on the ground, you saw him run very hard. Haskin ran hard, or they all ran hard. The yak yards, the yards after contact. I love that this was a back by committee, and those guys knew that they were being called on, and they answered the bell. That's what I like about this Charger team. You look at Haskins, here's a guy, and you look at Verdell, you think, okay, are these guys, who's going to make the team? Okay, is he your power back? Okay, he's a part of special teams. But when they were asked to say, I got to switch your role, the mindset of these men, I watched the way that they carried about their business. They ran with attitude. They ran with bravado. They said, look, you're going to call up I know we're third and fourth. No one gives us a chance. Those guys ran like they were running like starters in this league. That's what I like, the way that the running backs played. And that's no exception in the team. This is the first time in probably several weeks that the Chargers, even home games, you usually be favored by 3 at home. So pretty much if it's 2, it's pretty much a pick 'em. If it's 1, it's pretty much saying the Indy's probably favored. So they're looking at this saying, this is the first game in a couple weeks that everyone's saying this is a game, the team's 5-1. This is where you're looking up and saying, we need to win. We need to show the world that the Chargers are back. So I want to see the way that they respond with adversity. I want to see the way this team goes about its business, playing against a team that's 5-1. This is the first time they're playing against a team with a better record than them. First time that they're going and saying, okay, uncharted water. First time people are talking about, here's the Indianapolis Colts team that people are saying could possibly be the best team in the AFC, will have the best record in the AFC. You have a chance now to play spoiler. You have a chance now to say, okay, boys, all this stuff, these 2 little losses, guess what? Where everyone's getting to see us, we're playing Indianapolis Colts, who's 5-1, should be undefeated. Let's show them that the Chargers, in spite of having injuries, in spite of being on our 5th and 6th string tackles, we're going to find a way to win this ball game.
Yeah, and look, just to kind of focus in on what you mentioned with Kamani Vidal, look, he played great. Now the Miami run defense has been the worst in the NFL this season, so you want to take advantage of that, but he did. And obviously with 2 tackles that are, like we said, 5th and 6th string, both off the practice squad, you would assume that Miami knew that they were going to want to run the ball because, you have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips and all those guys out there. So it's understandable. And I think in terms of what Vidal was able to do, it's and I know you'll appreciate this, Lo, because you were part of it. Hey, man, it's not just Kamani. Now, look, Kamani was able to get some yards that weren't there. He did bounce a couple that went for big gainers, and he averaged 6.9 per carry. He had a 38-yard run, but at the same time, you got Tucker Fisk, who was playing fullback for Scott Matlock, who was out. Congratulations to the Matlock family. Just had a baby. You had Oronde Gadsden, I thought was a bit, and the 2 rookies, Oronde Gadsden and Trey Harris, blocked their tails off, man. They blocked their tails off. And I know when Oronde came in, one of the reasons why maybe he slid to the 5th round is he just kind of a big wide receiver? Can he really play tight end? Is he going to be able to block? What are we talking? And I thought he had some really good blocks out there. Trey Harris, man, he gets his nose in there. He's all about it, man. He is all about that action, boss. And you got him. He's almost like a move tight end where they're motioning him to set up seal blocks. They're motioning him. He had to take on, who was it? I don't remember if it was Chubb or if it was, I wish I could remember. It's not that important. And he was one of the defensive ends. It might have been Phillips. It might have been Benito Jones. No, it wasn't Benito. Might have been Chubb. But it was just a 1st and 10 run. And he comes motioning through, man, and he lowers his shoulder and he takes on a guy that's probably, I don't know, 100 pounds heavier than him. And it was a thump. Now I put it up on the Instagram. It didn't go for a big gainer, but it's like, okay, here we go. And I think he's starting to get more and more of those. And let's see what his receiving total was, Low, because it wasn't 4 for 27 on 5 targets, but those were impressive yards. And I think what we're seeing a little bit is we saw Trey with Quentin out. You just assumed it was going to be Trey, Keenan, Ladd, but Keenan wasn't necessarily on the field as much. And Trey, I thought, was getting some of his snaps, some of that stuff that Keenan was always really good at, those blocking plays on rundowns. Trey is starting to take those. And then I think there's just a little bit more wiggle there, a little bit more explosion, a little bit more athleticism than Keenan's got right now. And I think we're going to start to see, just because of how good he's been as a run blocker, a little bit more Trey Harris action out there.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job running after catch, and also, like you said, blocking. I just thought that this team, the 1-2 that they had, the physicality they still inspired in spite of having, fifth and sixth string tackles out there. I thought just the physicality was there. You saw guys, the effort that they were blocking with. You even saw Gaston, boom, put one on the ground. You think that, okay, God, saw him bounce back. This guy, like you said, you talked about him earlier, hey, good big tight end, kind of a big receiver. Don't know if he could play tight end, but you see the effort that he's having out there. The guy's tough. He's tough to cover. He's too fast for linebackers. You see him run by linebackers. The guy can run. He can move. Too physical for safeties. I think this guy is going to be a very good tight end, very serviceable. And I think you're going to see the latter part of this year. He's going to make some huge plays. He's too athletic and he's too fast.
Yeah, Lo, and look, Tyler Conklin's non-existent. He was out there for 3 snaps. Gadsden took them all. Gadsden's your second leading receiver out there. 8 targets, 7 catches, 68 yards. Obviously, the fumble, like you said, on the first target and the first catch, was able to shake it off. I think it tells you as well, Herbert's a big trust guy. And the fact that Herbert kept going back to him over and over again, I think, and then you also had your couple, you had your Will Dissly, 2 for 18. Looks like he's running in slow motion, but he's still getting yards, man. He's still getting you yards. He blocked his tail off. It was great to have him back out there. But I think you're seeing, I'm glad you brought that up, because to me, that's more and more where this is going. You think about last year, defensively with Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart, how this was about the moment when they started coming on and getting a lot of those reps, and it almost feels like now this is sort of where Trey Harris and Aronde Gadsden are starting to take some of those reps from the vets, and that's what we're seeing. Like Conklin, they're like, you know what? We're good, man. We're good, because Aronde's Conklin's a better blocker than Gadsden now.
Sure.
But I think Gadsden is so much more explosive and
he can win right now. That's what I like, because if you get beat on the tackle, of course, if you're struggling, like they are, Gadsden, you got a tight end that can win right away. That's the difference, and that's why Dissly, he's just going to beat you strong, physical. So if he wins, it's going to be a tight window. With Gaston, boom, he's going to get you right now. So it gives that quarterback that extra half a second or millisecond to get rid of the ball, because his receiver or his tight end's open right away.
Yeah, and I think as we kind of look at the Miami game, and then also at the same time press it forward like we have been to this Colts game on Sunday, third down, completely different in the second half, but still 6 of 15, not bad. Not great. My one issue with third downs is they had 6 of 15. Of those 15 third downs, 11 of them were 3rd and 5 or less. And there was only 1 3rd and 5. So 10 of them were 3rd and 4 or less. And there were probably 7 or 8 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s. And I don't think they got half of them. And it's just too much quick penetration over center, man. These guys are in the backfield like that, and it's blowing up plays, and it's just trying to rush to the edges. It's not there. They're not reestablishing a line of scrimmage. The D line is getting too much push into the backfield, and so to me, that's something offensive. You say, hey, what needs to be cleaned up? This team should not be, 50% on 3rd and 2 or less. Like that's what led to all those field goals, and that's the other. We'll talk red zone in a second. I'll let you pick it up from there, Lo. But they have got to be better on these 3rd and shorts.
Without a doubt. And I guarantee you this week, I'm telling you what's going to happen. You're going to have a team that's going to come after. They're going to be aggressive too. They're going to say, look, pin your hands back on 3rd down. If they run, just run, make the tackle on the way to the quarterback. But pin your hands, because this line can't not hold up. Someone is going to come free. That's a given. That's unmutable right now until we see it stop. So when you look at the Chargers, what are they going to do? What is the offensive coordinator? What is he going to do? Watch. Go in the gun, and I'm going to see more screens. You're going to have to go in the gun now and say, look, it's 3rd and 2. I know teams are thinking we running. It's faking the draw, and now it's a little screen. You got to get guys in space. You can't line up and run because you haven't created a new line of scrimmage. I look for the screen game to even be bigger on even those obvious rundowns, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. Look for this team now, the screen, quick pass, because they're going to play man. They're going to be up on you hard, and they're saying, go get the quarterback. So they think the pressure going to get you. So now you're going to have some screen opportunities. I think this team's going to have to do more of that, more mixing that up, because like you said, on these 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s, you've just been ineffective.
Yeah, and to that point, Low, with the screens, and we saw some of them, right? We saw the tight end screen to Disley. We saw a screen to Kamani Vidal that went for a touchdown, or at least just a pass to the flat. Not
Sure.
necessarily set up
Right.
as a screen, but I know what you mean. But I think the one issue there that I've noticed is and I don't want to. I'm trying to think the best way to put this.
No, it's fine.
I feel like it's if the back's covered, there's no other answer. Like I've seen it too much where Herbert takes the snap, he's looking to the back, it's not there, and now it's a scramble drill. And I'm like, there's got to be better answers than that. Like it's got to be better than just, hey, we're gonna leak the back out to the flat because the teams are just covering it. It's almost like they know they got the answers to the test. That back is always covered on those plays when he's dropping back, and it's like he kind of gets stuck.
Right.
And it's like when it's not there, it's like, okay,
Panic.
we gotta move. We gotta move
Window
now.
dressing.
It's not there. And so I'm not saying it's just on Herbert because I'm looking at the picture and there's a lot of times there is nothing else there. So it's like
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So that's why you got to do window dressing. You got to say, okay, the back's here. So we understand they're going man-to-man coverage. They're saying, well, if they want to flare, they don't want to run. You fake there, and now this tight end's blocking home, staying home. Now he's going to pop underneath, and you got to fake that screen. You got it because you're just not good enough. So you can beat them with the ball because everyone's going to be aggressive, jumping that. Now you fake that little bubble, boom, come back to the tight end backside. Now he's blocking 1001 because the guy's trying to get there. They think it's free. Now he slips out. You just got to keep mixing it up, these window dressing. And sometimes they're going to be right. But just like sometimes they're right in the running, but more likely they've been more right in the running game on 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2. So the passing game haven't been more. So if you can keep them off balance with the swing pass to the screen here to make it window dressing, that just gives you a better opportunity until you can get the cavalry back, until you can get help, until you can fix this run game.
Yeah, I almost, and again, because the pressure is coming so fast up the gut right now, I almost hesitate to say it, but I wouldn't mind just seeing more RPOs. Yeah. I want to see Herbert keep that thing and at least put that element in there because that to me will slow them down a little bit. If he can just read that crash, and keep it and get a couple of those. All you need is one or two.
Yeah.
And then at least that seed is planted. And I think if you did that, I thought there was some RPO game with Trey Harris that would work. I think that to me is a potential answer as well. The other thing we got to get to, Low, and man, this is crazy. And it was obviously evident against the Dolphins. This is the worst red zone offense in the NFL by a mile. By a mile. They are 32nd out of 32 teams, converting just 35% of their opportunities. Think about what they did this offseason. They spent money on Mekhi Becton, on Najee Harris, a first-round pick on Amarian Hampton. They brought back Keenan Allen. They got a new tight end in Arondé Gadsden, 2 new receivers in Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert. All of that to this offense because of how limited they were last year. Their red zone number last year was 55%. And this year, with all of those offensive additions, and I know there's issue on the offensive line. I get that part of it, but you can't be 20% worse in the red zone with all the additions you made this offseason. Against the Dolphins, they were at 29%. And I mentioned those third downs were not third. They had one penalty-ravaged red zone drive where they got back-to-back penalties that pulled them out. But outside of that, man, it was field goal. It was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and and I get it. It felt like a rock fight out there. Take the 3 points. But at the same time, man, the last 3 games, they're at 30% in the red zone. 30, to kind of put it in perspective, here's your top 5 teams in the red zone. Washington, 73%, Detroit, 74%, Miami, 75%, the Bengals, 77%, and the Eagles at 88%. 50% better in the red zone than the Chargers. Like, that's how wide that gap is. That's the thing to me that needs to be cleaned up, man. You have got to score touchdowns in this league, not field goals.
Yeah, you do. And the red zone is, that's your money downs. You got to figure it out. And you can't lose on the first down. The Chargers are losing and they get in the red zone on 1st and 2nd down instead of, 1st and, 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 5 or 6. It's 2nd and offsides, a false start. and you're these self-inflicted wounds, or a guy misses, and so boom, you don't get any yards. So now it's 2nd and 10 because you tried to run, no run. So you're in a situation now. Teams, okay, we can come after them a little bit. We can come after them. So boom, someone's breaking down. So how do you win? Usually teams play cover 4, cut 4 or 8 in the end zone, 4 across and 4 deep. They know that you run out of end zone because you're in the red zone. So those windows get tighter. So you got 4 in the back of the end zone, you got 4 in front. So there's windows in there. And how do you put pressure on those windows? You got to run those corner out to make that back corner guy stay home. And then you got to have something that's going to sit in that window. So you got to make sure that it's just boom. Here's a read. Like you said, maybe it's that RPO or that Mike linebacker slamming down the tight ends, popping and replacing him. But if you don't have a good run and you can't run the ball and haven't had success, am I going to get that Mike or that Will linebacker to commit? So you got to say, oh, boom, here's this run. You got to pick up 3 or 4 yards to make that linebacker play downhill. So boom, now that tight end's replacing the linebacker. Bam, throw the ball right there, pick up another 5, move the chain. There's ways, but you got to execute the plays to set up the things that we need for success in the red zone. So red zone that's the money play money, and that's no pun intended, but that's where you have to get better. That's where you must get better, because field goals are going to lose you more games than win you. I know, say, I took some points. I took the points. You got to turn these 3s into 7s. That's a 4-point difference in scoring. You got to start scoring when you get in the red zone.
That almost cost them the game in Miami. They could have slammed the door. They had a red zone trip, and they would have gone up 30-13 instead of 26-13, and slammed that door. It would have been 3 scores, and it's over. There's just not with 6 minutes left in the half, in the game, I should say, and that game was over. Instead, they settle for 3. Miami gets a quick touchdown thanks to 22 yards of penalties and a missed, and I understand Derwin nearly jumped that route. That thing went right through his hands. He almost jumped it and took it back for pick 6. So I have no problem with that, because he had that thing read. He had it beat, and it was the craziest play because the ball literally went right through his hands, into that explosive for Engel that set up that touchdown. But I think, the red zone is where you get creative. The red zone is where there's a lot of eye candy, there's a lot of motions, where there's a lot of misdirections, because, like you said, it shrinks. So you've got to try to get that defense, to bite on some things in order to create some space. And it's not happening right now. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do, again, with the offensive line issues that they're dealing with. But at the same time, there's 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s in there that aren't being converted. And when you've got Justin Herbert, 6'6", 250 as your quarterback, those things should not be an issue. That's
or put Will Disley at quarterback on 3rd and 1 or 2. Tell this, okay, boom, put 12 personnel, like you said, have Herbert motion out, put Will underneath there, get the running backs, do the push him. Yeah. I mean, Will, like you said, for 1 yard, 2 yards, you should not be able to. Look how, if you just get guys up there and they push, even if he falls forward, you're going to push him over the pile. If for 1 yard, it's darn near impossible to stop. Yeah. So I would start saying, look, 3rd and 1, anything on 1 yard, I wouldn't even look, because I have a hard time at times, especially when you're not necessarily have a great running game money. Your running back's at 7. Fleet's at 7 or 6 to 7 yards deep, and you turning back, you're running back, and you're handling the ball 3-4 yards deep. So, and when you don't have a great line, someone's getting beat. Right. So that's why when I see these guys tackling the backfield, it's like, dude. But when you're up on the line for quarterback sneak, you don't have room for that much air. It's a higher percentage play, and that's why Philadelphia, a lot of teams, Buffalo, quarterback sneak, but you got to have the right guy, the right quarterback, the right offensive line to say this play can't be stopped for 1 yard. And that's got to be a mindset, and it should not be stopped for 1 yard. So they do got to get more creative, but you also got to do the basics. And the basics is just block the guy in front of you, block him long enough for us to get 1 yard, especially when it comes to 3rd and 1 or 2.
I just, for me, through 6 games now, I see these short yardage situations, especially in the red zone, and they're coming out heavy in credit card alignment. And I'm just like, that's not what this team does. That's not, I would almost rather, if you're not going to get under center with Herbert, and they converted a 4th down on Sunday with a tush push, Haskins and Trey Harris helping push that thing forward for Herbert. But if you're not going to do that, I'd rather just spread them out. Give me some space, create some lanes on that RPO action or on a potential design quarterback run. Do it that way. Even though it's
Agreed.
a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2 and you're in the shotgun 4 yards back, I'd just rather have that space available than, like you said, being under center, heavy personnel, whether it's 22, 13, whatever you got, and you're turning around 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and I'm watching guys, free runners, just come in the backfield.
Yeah. Quarterback, find a soft spot.
Yeah.
Hike the center, boom, underneath center, like you said, either spread them out. I'm with you, same church, same proof. I'll even sit on your lap on this one, Money.
There we go.
I'm with you, baby. Get their quarterback underneath the center, and guess what? He finds that soft lane. There's going to be a soft spot, one or the left or right. It's always a soft spot. You find it, lay there, and let the cavalry come and push you over it. But let's get this win.
I bring it up low because I'm looking, Indianapolis is 10th in red zone efficiency. The last 3, they are, I'll tell you right now, they might be first. They're first. Their last 3 games, they're converting red zone trips at 92%. They were 100% against the Cardinals. That's how they got out with that win. The Cardinals were just 50%. So Cardinals, get one extra trip that's not a field goal and it's a touchdown, they win that game. And by the way, Indy's defense was leaky against a Cardinals team that was on a practice squad running back. Marvin Harrison Jr. left the game with a concussion. You got Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. He throws for 300 or darn near 400. I think they had 400 yards. He threw for 320 and 2 touchdowns. And they had 400 yards of offense. So it's there. I think it's up to Greg Roman and to this offense to go get it. They did pretty darn well against Miami. What did they end up getting? 403 yards against Miami. So let's do it again because it's the Colts can score. You can muddy that picture up on Daniel Jones, and he'll make mistakes. Like I said, there were turnover-worthy plays out there. He did throw a bad pick that should have been cashed in for a touchdown, but they turned it right back over to him. And then he should have had a second pick in that. So you can get those from Daniel Jones. He'll put those out there. You just got to cash him in for turnovers. We saw Tony Jefferson get one last week. Derwin got one as well at the end of the game. So we know they can get their hands, on some errant passes or some ill-advised throws. And I think you just got to cash those in. And for me, again, just reiterating, no missed tackles, red zone, you've got to score touchdowns, not field goals, and make sure you take advantage of Daniel Jones' mistakes.
I'm with you, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a heroic effort by this defense, shutting down shutting down the running back, saying, "Look, we're going to make Daniel Jones beat us in the air, which he can. We understand that, but let's make him throw some pecks. We know that this guy, we can get him off his spot at times. He's going to throw you 1 or 2. He's going to serve you up, but we cannot let the running back get going. We have to shut down the run. Let's make this team one-dimensional. And offense, man, just protect, convert on third downs. Let's be more efficient. Get the 50 to 40% on third down efficiency, and all your 3rd and 1s less. You got to find a way to make that 80%. 3rd and 1 or less, you should be 80 to 90% in this league if you got the right play called. So I'd look for this team to excel. You're playing at home. Everything's, you're playing against a team that's 5-1, the best in the AFC. Big opportunity for the Chargers to get right, to continue to get right, put 2 games back to back. Looking forward to see what these guys do this Sunday.
Yeah, stop the run too, right? Last 3, they've allowed 154 yards rushing per game. So slow that down, correct that. Achane, like we said, Krosky, Merritt, and J.K. Dobbins. Those are 3 very good running backs, but it ain't Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and James Cook. So you got Jonathan Taylor coming to town. He is an elite back in this league. And when you're giving up 153.7 over your last 3 and 124.2 over the season, that's someone's going to have to get cleaned up, and hopefully it will. Look, they're 4-2. They're in first place in the AFC West right now. You win this game, and you end up getting that tiebreaker over an Indy team that's coming in at 5-1. You end up dropping them to 5-2. You improve to 5-2. Now you're sitting on top of the AFC.
And Indy beat Denver, right?
Yes.
Barely. So
yeah, remember that was the leverage play.
The leverage play. So now if you look at Denver, now you already beat Denver head to head. Now if you got the same record, now you beat them in 2 categories. So it's gonna be a huge win for the Chargers.
That's a great point. Great point, Lo. Look, great win, 4-2. I know maybe sounded a little negative. It should not have been. They got the win. And again, great play out there. Kamani Vidal, tip of the cap to him. Awesome. We celebrated Tucker Fisk and Trey Harris and Aronde Gadsden and so many of these guys that were asked to step up. And obviously Bobby Hart and Austin Deculus at right and left tackle respectively. And what, they did being pressed into service. Hopefully Joe Alt was not in a walking boot on the sideline this week. So hopefully he's back out there Hopefully Jamari Sawyer is healthy after missing this week. Hopefully Quentin Johnston's back out there.
Oh boy,
the game with a hammy. Exactly. So you got a lot. All this team has to do, man, is tread water. Just tread water for these next 3 weeks, because after 3 weeks, they're all going to be back. Khalil will be back. Alt will be back. Like, everyone's coming back by these 3 weeks. Hopefully Amari and Hampton will see.
When's the bye? When's the bye for this team?
We got a late one. Bye is 12.
Okay.
So it's like November. It's like it's the weekend. It's the week before Thanksgiving is their bye. So we got a while before that. But this is a spot with back-to-back home games here, and then a trip to Tennessee, who just fired their head coach, and your guy Mike McCoy out there. So who's now taken over. So you have a chance with back-to-back home games, including a Thursday night where you're getting the Vikings that have to fly all the way out here, and you get that short week. So let me just make sure that the Vikings, before I say that, before we go, because it'll just bother me forever that they're not coming up.
I know it will. You'll be like, I'm doing it. I should have. I told the Vikings it wasn't that week. So you take care of the Colts and then Vikings, right?
They're playing the Eagles. They're going to deal with that physicality of the Eagles on Sunday, and then on a short week have to come here for a Thursday night game. So you get the Colts at home, followed by a Minnesota team that's coming off a game against Philly on a short week on a Thursday at SoFi. Get these two, man. Just get these two. Make it another 3-1 month. You're 6-2, and you got Khalil coming back, and Alt coming back, and Hampton coming back, and you feel pretty darn good about the direction this thing's going.
No question. Hey, let's do it, man. Bolt up.
Let's do it. All right, bolt up. Thanks, everybody, for checking in again. Rate, share, review. We appreciate all of you, and we'll be back again next week, hopefully, talking about the Chargers improving to 5-2 and sitting atop that AFC.